All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am Chief Meteorologist Taylor Kanost here, and I'm going to be spending a little time here on our Facebook account, YouTube, on WACH.com, walking you through what we're expecting with Debbie these next few days and how it's going to directly impact us here in the Midlands and across South Carolina. So we appreciate you all joining us, trusting us to bring you the latest forecast, and we're going to do our best to try to pin down what exactly is coming our way. So here's where we stand right now. Debbie made landfall on the Gulf Coast of Florida earlier this morning as a Category 1 hurricane. Now that it's moving inland, those winds are beginning to very slowly weaken. Not much, though. Right now, maximum sustained winds are at 65 miles per hour. It is just about to cross into southern Georgia out of Florida. There are still gusts up to 85 miles per hour, so certainly a rough time for travel near Valdosta, Georgia, along I-75, I-95 in Georgia. Not much better as well from Georgia down toward Jacksonville. Definitely becoming a mess there at this moment. We are beginning to see the outer bands of Debbie make their way into South Carolina today. From the low country to the Grand Strand, we're seeing consistent light to moderate rain. Nothing too substantial about what we're seeing on the radar picture right now, but it's consistent rain, and this is just the start of what's going to be days of rain that is going to lead to some significant flooding for much of the state. Closer in the Midlands, not a whole lot of rain for most of us. That rain is beginning to become a little more consistent for Orangeburg and over to Manning. Farther north, we have scattered downpours, but nothing consistent just yet. And this is likely how things are going to stay for the next few hours. It won't be until later on tonight that consistent rain drifts north toward the rest of the Midlands and begins the onslaught of heavy rain we are expecting. So here's a look at some DOT cameras across the state. Here's Columbia. Again, some hit and miss downpours, but nothing substantial. The rain coming down a little heavier and beginning to make for some very wet conditions just north of Savannah in the far southern part of South Carolina. Here's Charleston, and again, the rain falling there as well. Same story for Myrtle Beach. No flooding ongoing in the state at this time, but again, that is expected to change over the next several days. This is going to be a rainstorm, not so much a windstorm when we talk about Tropical Storm Debbie. At first glance, you may think it's a tropical storm. What's the big deal? The big deal is this storm is going to be moving very, very slowly over the next several days. In fact, here's where it is right now. By this time tomorrow, it may still be over Georgia. It may not make its way near or just off the coast of South Carolina until Tuesday night, and it's expected to stay there throughout the day Wednesday and possibly into the first half of Thursday as well. The latest forecast cone from the Hurricane Center doesn't have it moving out of South Carolina until during the day Friday. 4 days from now, only traveling from North Florida to North Carolina. So an extremely slow moving system, and with that in mind, that is going to lead to some heavy rainfall these next few days. The wind will be gusty at times, could get up to 60 miles per hour again by Thursday morning. The longer it sits over those warm Gulf Stream waters, the more it may be able to re-intensify. So that's something we'll watch along the coast, but here locally in the Midlands, the threat is the rain, and we could get a lot of it. So let's dive through these next few days here. I'm confident that tonight we will start to see that heavy band of rain drift northward. Those of you in the southern Midlands may begin to experience some flooding issues late tonight and first thing in the morning tomorrow. Heading into the day on Tuesday, widespread, heavy, consistent rain expected, especially south of I-20 throughout the day tomorrow. Tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday are all weather-worn days for the threat of flash flooding. From Tuesday through Tuesday night alone, there could be 3 to 6 inches of rain that fall south of I-20. That is going to be too much rain in too little time and could very well cause some widespread flash flooding. If you live in a property that is susceptible to flooding, is in a low-lying area, has a history of flooding in the past, very well could flood again tomorrow. So have a plan to get to higher ground in case that scenario comes to fruition. You definitely want to limit travel tomorrow, especially in this part of the state, south and east of Columbia. It's going to be tough for travel, to say the least, and there's very likely going to be some roads that become impassable due to that heavy rainfall. What happens after that remains to be seen, but here's what I'm looking at right now. For Tuesday into the Tuesday night, still some lingering heavy bands of rain, especially south of I-20. For Wednesday, some of you might get a break from the rain. The farther northwest you are, the more likely it is you dry out on Wednesday. There is still very much a possibility, though, we get the outer bands to continue to impact the southeast Midlands and possibly as far west as Columbia. So there could continue to be some flood issues in Columbia on Wednesday as well. It's just going to depend on where exactly Debbie sets up during Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday is a similar situation, and what may happen on Thursday is that after some of us get a break on Wednesday, Debbie starts to move back inland a little bit. We get another surge of heavy rain, especially for the eastern Midlands, and that could cause, again, additional flooding issues, especially with that rain falling on top of our already flooded ground. That could make for even more of a mess. Right now, again, I'm watching Wednesday and Thursday for being our worst and most impactful days here in the Midlands. For Tuesday specifically, the Weather Prediction Center, which is a branch of NOAA, which runs the National Weather Service, other government outlets, they have issued a rare high risk for excessive rainfall, aka flash flooding, for the counties highlighted in pink from Tuesday through Tuesday night. So parts of Sumter County, Clarendon County, Calhoun, Orangeburg counties, even lower Richland County under that rare high risk. Those in red under the level 3 moderate risk. So certainly a big threat for you folks there as well. I'm going to walk you through a few different models to show you the projected rain totals on each of those models from right now through 8 a.m. on Wednesday. This right here is our in-house IBM model, and this is what it's suggesting. Again, substantial rain possible, especially south of I-20. There is a possibility that at least pockets of this region get upwards of 8 inches from now through Wednesday morning. So serious stuff. It drops off pretty quickly the farther northwest you go, so there may not be substantial impacts for you folks farther northwest, but that's something we'll at least be watching. Again, it ultimately depends on where exactly the center of Debbie tracks. Here's another model. This is the high resolution rapid refresh model, again showing a similar situation for Columbia, showing nearly 4 inches of rain between now and Wednesday morning. And then here's the last model I'll show you. This is the European model. Not quite as dire of a situation being painted on this model, so we'll hope this pans out. But many models are suggesting significant rainfall coming our way Tuesday into Tuesday night, and that's why we are preaching playing it safe. If you can stay off the roads tomorrow, that's going to be your best bet, especially for communities like Orangeburg, like St. Matthews, Manning, Sumter. You're the ones most likely to be impacted by flash flooding tomorrow through tomorrow night. This again is from the Weather Prediction Center, the 5-day rainfall forecast for the state of South Carolina, where you see the yellow is where they're projecting upwards of 15 inches or more across that portion of the state. It looks like we just got a recent update here. So where you see the orange here is where 7 to 10 inches is forecast. So we literally just got an update. So ignore these numbers here. This right here is where 10 to 15 inches are possible, 7 to 10 inches here. About 5 to 7 inches for this corridor, drops off to about 3 to 5 inches for that corridor. Nonetheless, it's going to be a substantial impact for us here locally. This is my forecast for Columbia specifically, and it's a very wide range of possibilities due to that sharp cutoff between where the most heavy rain falls and where there may not be so much. I think there is at least a possibility that we get as low as 1 to 3 inches this week. That would be great. We would avoid this serious flash flooding in Columbia if that happened. The worst case scenario is we get upwards of a foot of rain in Columbia. Again, that's a possibility, but it's not likely. But that would be the worst case scenario. My forecast for Columbia right now, 5 to 8 inches of rainfall. That's going to cause quite a few problems, especially for areas that typically flood, low-lying locations. You're very likely going to experience flooding these next few days. So that's my forecast for Columbia. Those of you farther southeast will get more. Those of you northwest of the city will get less. Let's talk about wind for a minute. The gusts could occasionally climb over 40 miles per hour these next couple of days. It's not going to be a widespread damaging wind event for us here, but it will be noticeably windy at times these next few days. Wind-driven rain, it's just not going to be a nice time to be outside, to say the least. Again, there could be occasional gusts that are above the 40 mile per hour range. That could cause some isolated problems. And something to keep in mind is that since our ground is so saturated, it won't take necessarily the typical severe wind gusts to topple some power lines, topple some trees. So I would imagine there's going to at least be some isolated power outages over these next few days. As far as the tornado threat is concerned, it's not a big threat for us locally. This is the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center for today through tonight. Only a 2% chance of a tornado developing within 25 miles of any of those given points. So the southeast Midlands, you have a low threat of a tornado late today through tonight, but it's more likely to be a threat closer to the low country overnight tonight. Again, more likely near the coast. Any tornadoes that do happen to develop, as they often do around these tropical cyclones, tend to be short-lived and relatively weak compared to supercellular tornadoes that you see during the spring and the summer. So here's what I'll leave you with. This is what we are expecting this week. Flash flooding is by far our biggest concern over the next several days. I'm most confident that's going to occur tomorrow, especially south of I-20. But Wednesday and Thursday, if we continue to get those bands of heavy rain to fall on those already saturated grounds, that will only make it worse. So for those of you in the southeast Midlands, please be weather aware, stay tuned to the forecast, and be aware of any warnings that are issued for your location. Travel, again, is going to be difficult. Some roads will become impassable this week, especially near the coast. The low country, again, they could get 15 to 20 inches of rain these next several days. So if you had travel plans in that direction, you might just want to cancel it or wait until this weekend. It's going to get a little better by the weekend. Winds will be gusty, but likely not damaging for most of us. There could be, again, some power lines, some trees that are knocked down, but it's not going to be what you would typically experience in a hurricane. Okay, we're talking about a tropical storm here, and tropical storm hurricane ratings are strictly based on wind speeds. We're not expecting those to be to hurricane levels, just tropical storm levels. And the tornado threat will not be a huge concern for us in the Midlands. Once again, it's all about the heavy rain we are expecting these next several days. We're going to be here all week long to keep you posted on the situation. I just posted an updated forecast article on our website, WACH.com. So if you want to read more about what we're expecting these next few days, you can certainly check it out there. We'll have live updates coming up today at 5 o'clock. Those of you that were planning on attending National Night Out tomorrow night, the city manager from Columbia at a press conference not too long ago suggested that those be canceled. So I'd imagine those are going to be canceled for tomorrow. So unfortunate timing there. But again, those of you wondering about that, that's the latest we're hearing, at least from the city manager in Columbia. And I know a couple communities have already canceled their event for that. Otherwise, as far as school districts are concerned, I know school getting going for many of us this week. Most districts are still monitoring the situation, not changing any schedules just yet. The exception being Lexington 4 is closing school on Tuesday. We'll keep you posted on those school closure possibilities these next several days as well. That's all for me for now. Appreciate you tuning in this afternoon. I'll be live again at 5 o'clock on Watch Fox News. Stay tuned for the latest on that. And we'll be back on here on Facebook and YouTube for another live update coming at 8 o'clock this evening. So be sure to tune in at then. Again, I'm Taylor Kanost, and thanks for watching.